A millionaire goes to hospital and sees his ex giving birth twins, and what he discovers shocks him and regrets. A very beautiful story for my loyal greatest and best family. Let's begin with love. Before we start, I just want one thing. From you, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and type present in the comments to appreciate your brother work. Damien Sims learned too late that the loudest truth in a room is often the quietest lie. The front door closed with a sound that felt final, though he didn't know it yet. His shoes echoed against the marble floor of the home he'd built, not with money, but with every choice that said, "This is where I belong." The lights were off, except for the kitchen, where a yellow glow spilled into the hallway like a warning he couldn't read. Constance sat at the island, her hands wrapped around a mug that wasn't steaming anymore. She'd been waiting. "You're back early," she said, her voice carrying something he mistook for concern. Meeting ended faster than expected. Damien set his briefcase down, loosening his tie. "Where's Alicia?" "Sleeping. The baby's been kicking all evening. She's exhausted." Constance didn't look at him when she spoke. Her eyes stayed fixed on the mug, on her reflection in the cold coffee. "I'm glad you're here, though. There's something you need to see. Every marriage has a before and after. A moment when everything changes direction, when the story splits into what it was and what it becomes." Damien didn't know he was standing at that crossroads. He just pulled out the chair across from his mother-in-law and sat down. "What is it?" Constance's hand trembled as she reached for her phone. Real tears gathered in her eyes. She'd practiced this part, perfected the catch in her breath. "I didn't want to be the one to show you. I prayed I was wrong, that there was some explanation. But I can't keep this from you. You deserve the truth." She slid the phone across the granite countertop. The video was 90 seconds long. Damien watched it once, his face expressionless. Then he watched it again, and again. By the fifth viewing, his hands had gone numb. Alicia stood in their living room, his living room, wearing the yellow sundress that made her glow. The contractor Tobias had his hand on her lower back. She leaned into him, laughing at something whispered too low for the camera to catch. The angle made everything look intimate, deliberate. Her fingers brushed his arm. His smile seemed knowing. "When was this?" Damien's voice came out flat, mechanical. "Last week, when you were in Miami." Constance wiped her eyes with practiced precision. "I came by to drop off groceries. I saw them through the window before I knocked. I almost left, almost pretended I hadn't seen anything. But then I thought, what kind of mother would I be if I let this continue?" "There's more." "3 different occasions. I started paying attention after the first time." She pulled up more clips. Each one was perfectly damning. Tobias touching Alicia's shoulder, Alicia bringing him water, her hand lingering near his. The two of them alone in rooms where they shouldn't have been alone. Damien watched until the screen went dark. Then he sat in silence so complete that Constance almost spoke, almost broke character. But she held, she waited. "I trusted her," he finally said. The words felt like glass in his throat. "I know, sweetheart. We all did." Constance reached across to touch his hand, but he pulled away. "What are you going to do?" "I don't know. But that was a lie." He knew exactly what he was going to do, what every screaming instinct demanded. He was going to protect himself. Guard what remained. He'd built his life from nothing, clawed his way up from a childhood where love was conditional and trust was currency. He'd sworn never to be vulnerable again, never to be the fool who didn't see betrayal coming. And here it was. Video evidence, multiple instances. His pregnant wife and another man, intimate in their shared home while he worked to provide for them. The rage didn't come hot. It came cold, calculated, final. "I need you to leave," he told Constance. "I need to handle this alone." She gathered her things slowly, milking every second of her performance. At the door, she turned back. "Whatever you decide, I'll support my daughter. But Damien, you deserved better than this." When she left, Damien climbed the stairs. Each step felt heavier than the last. The bedroom door was cracked open. Inside, Alicia slept on her side, one hand curved protectively over her swollen belly. Her face looked peaceful, innocent even. He wondered how long she'd been lying to him, how many times she'd kissed him with lips that had smiled at another man. He didn't sleep that night. He sat in his study, the video playing on loop in his mind, and made phone calls. His lawyer, his accountant, people who could dismantle a marriage as efficiently as he'd built a fortune. By dawn, the papers were being drawn up. By breakfast, his decision was concrete. When Alicia woke, she found him in the kitchen. He'd made coffee for himself, but nothing for her, and that should have been the first warning. He always made her decaf with too much cream, exactly how she liked it. "Good morning." She moved slowly, one hand supporting her back. The baby had dropped lower, preparing. Only a few weeks remained. "Did you just get in?" "No, I got in last night." Something in his tone made her pause. She studied his face, reading the tension in his jaw, the distance in his eyes. "What's wrong?" He slid an envelope across the counter, the same way Constance had slid the phone. "I need you to look at this." Alicia opened it with hands that didn't shake yet, that didn't understand. Inside were papers, legal papers. Words like irreconcilable differences, and division of assets, and termination of marriage. The room tilted. "Damien, what is this?" "You know what it is." He still wouldn't look at her. If he looked at her, if he saw her face, he might break. "Sign it. I'll make sure you're taken care of financially, but I want you out." "Out? Out of what? Our home? Our marriage?" Her voice rose, panic bleeding through. "What happened? Talk to me. Tell me what I did." He pulled out his phone, loaded the video, and set it on the counter between them. She watched her own face on the screen, watched Tobias's hand on her back, watched a moment of innocence twisted into something ugly. "Oh my God." The words came out as breath, barely sound. "Damien, no, that's not... Don't!" He held up one hand, his eyes finally meeting hers. They were empty. That hurt worse than anger would have. "I don't want to hear excuses. I don't want explanations. I just want you gone. It's not what it looks like. Please, you have to let me explain." She reached for him, but he stepped back like her touch would burn. "Tobias is married. He's gay. His husband is... Enough." The word came out sharp enough to cut. "I've seen enough. Your mother showed me everything. Multiple times, Alicia. Multiple times you let that man touch you in our home." "My mother?" Something flickered across her face, confusion shifting into something darker. "She's the one who showed you?" "She was trying to protect me." "Unlike my wife." Alicia's hand dropped to her stomach, instinctive and protective. The baby kicked hard, as if sensing the tension. "You're going to throw away everything we built because of a video you won't let me explain. You're not even going to ask me what really happened." "Lydia, I saw what happened." "You saw what someone wanted you to see." Her voice cracked, tears spilling over. "I love you. I have only ever loved you. That video is a lie, and if you gave me 5 minutes, I'm done giving you anything." He picked up his keys, his phone, his armor. "You have until tonight to pack your things. Take whatever you need. I'll have my lawyer contact you about the rest." He walked toward the door, and Alicia followed, her movements awkward with the weight she carried. Their child. His child. The life they'd created together, and he was destroying without a second thought. "Damien, please." She was sobbing now, ugly, desperate tears that she didn't try to hide. "I'm 6 months pregnant. Where am I supposed to go?" Your mother's." She seemed eager to take you back. The cruelty of it landed like a fist. Alicia grabbed the doorframe to steady herself. "You're not even going to ask me if it's real. The video, the accusation, you're just going to believe it and walk away." He paused with his hand on the door. For one moment, she thought she saw something crack in his expression. Doubt, pain, the man she'd fallen in love with, buried somewhere beneath the hurt. But then it sealed over. "I believed in you," he said quietly. "That was my mistake. I won't make it again." The door closed behind him with a sound that echoed through the empty house. Alicia stood in the hallway, one hand on her belly, the other pressed against the wall. The baby kicked again, harder this time. She slid down to sit on the floor, her back against the door he'd just walked through. She sat there for hours. Long enough for the morning light to shift across the hardwood, long enough for her tears to dry and her hands to stop shaking, long enough to realize that the man she loved had just chosen pride over truth, suspicion over faith. And somewhere in her mother's house, Constance deleted the original, unedited footage from her computer and smiled. The lie had worked perfectly. Chapter 2. The Weight of Silence. Alicia O'Connell discovered that the hardest part of innocence is that it requires someone to believe it. The basement smelled like mildew and old regrets. It wasn't much, a converted storage space with exposed pipes and a window too small to let in proper light. But it was all Constance offered, and Alicia had nowhere else to go. "You'll be comfortable down here," her mother had said, fluffing a pillow that couldn't hide the lumpy mattress beneath. "Just until you get back on your feet." That was 3 months ago. Alicia wasn't on her feet. She was 9 months pregnant, alone, and drowning in a silence that screamed louder than any argument. She'd tried everything, called every mutual friend, everyone who might listen. "Please," she'd begged Sarah, Damien's colleague's wife, "just give him a message. Tell him I need to talk to him. Tell him about Tobias, his husband, about the truth." Sarah's voice had been gentle but final. "Alicia, he doesn't want contact. I'm sorry, but he was very clear. Maybe it's better to just move forward." Move forward. As if you could move forward while standing still. As if you could heal while the knife was still buried in your chest. She wrote letters, pages and pages of them, her handwriting growing shakier as her body grew heavier. She explained everything. How Tobias had been hired to install new cabinets, how he'd become a friend, how his husband Marcus would join them for lunch sometimes. How that moment in the video was him steadying her when she felt dizzy from low blood pressure. How the laughter was from a joke about Marcus burning their dinner again. How every instance her mother had captured was innocent, explainable, true. She mailed the letters to his office, his home, everywhere she could think of. They came back stamped "Return to Sender." He wouldn't even read her words. Constance hovered, always hovering, monitoring every phone call, every movement. "You need rest," she'd insist whenever Alicia tried to leave. "The baby needs you calm. All this stress isn't good for either of you." But the stress came from the hovering, from the weight of her mother's constant presence. Constance had been thrilled when Damien filed for divorce, not sad for her daughter. Thrilled. She'd hugged Alicia and whispered, "You're better off without him. You're home now, where you belong, where you belong." As if Alicia hadn't built a life somewhere else. As if her home hadn't been with Damien, in their house, in their marriage. The contractions started on a Tuesday afternoon, sharp and sudden, doubling her over the sink where she'd been trying to wash dishes. She called for her mother. No answer. "Mom!" Louder this time, gripping the counter as another wave hit. The baby was coming early, too early. Constance's car wasn't in the driveway. She'd left to run errands without telling Alicia, without her phone, without any way to reach her. Alicia dialed emergency services with shaking fingers. "I need an ambulance. I'm in labor. I'm alone. How far apart are your contractions?" "I don't know. Close, they're close." Another one hit, and she heard herself make a sound she didn't recognize. "Please hurry." The operator stayed on the line, talking her through breathing exercises that didn't help. Alicia sank to the kitchen floor, her back against the cabinet, and felt the loneliest she'd ever been in her life. This moment, the moment she became a mother, was supposed to include someone. The person she'd chosen to build a family with. The person who'd promised forever. Instead, she labored alone on linoleum that needed mopping, while her mother shopped for groceries and the father of her children treated her like a stranger. The ambulance arrived in minutes that felt like hours. 2 paramedics lifted her onto a stretcher with practiced efficiency. "Is anyone coming with you? Partner? Family member?" "No, no one's coming." They exchanged a look. She saw the pity in it and wanted to scream. At the hospital, everything accelerated. Her blood pressure spiked dangerously. The doctor's face went serious. "We need to take you for an emergency procedure. The babies are in distress. Babies. Alicia's head felt fuzzy, the pain overwhelming. "What do you mean, babies?" "Twins, didn't you know?" She hadn't known. All the ultrasounds she'd missed because of the divorce, because of the depression, because she'd been too broken to take care of herself properly. "No, I didn't know." The doctor squeezed her hand. "We're going to take care of you, all three of you." They wheeled her into an operating room full of bright lights and serious faces. Someone put a mask over her face. "Count backward from 10. 10, 9, 8. Her mind drifted to Damien. Wondered if he'd care that she was here. If he'd care that there were 2 babies instead of 1. If any part of him still loved her. 7, 6. The world went dark. She woke to crying. 2 distinct voices, both wailing with the fury of new life. A nurse placed the first baby in her arms. Tiny, perfect, with dark hair that stuck up in every direction. "This is your son." Alicia looked down at the smallest person she'd ever seen and felt her heart crack open in a way that had nothing to do with pain. "Hi," she whispered. "Hi, sweet boy." They brought the second twin, identical features but quieter. His eyes were open, staring at her with focus that seemed impossible for someone born moments ago. "And this is your other son." 2 sons, 2 pieces of her heart now living outside her body. 2 reasons to keep breathing when breathing felt impossible. "Do they have names?" the nurse asked gently. Alicia traced her finger along the first baby's cheek. "Henry, this one's Henry." The second twin made a small sound, and she smiled through her tears. "And you're Roy." Beautiful names. They're from Damien's family. His grandfather and great-uncle. She said his name, and it tasted like grief. "He should be here. He should be meeting them." The nurse's expression softened. "Would you like us to contact the father?" "He doesn't want to be contacted." Alicia held her sons closer, feeling the weight of them, the impossible responsibility. "It's just us now, just the 3 of us." Hours passed in a blur of feeding attempts and failed sleep, and nurses checking vitals. Alicia held her babies and tried not to think about the empty chair beside her bed. The chair where Damien should have been sitting, where he should have been holding their sons, where he should have been falling in love the way she was. But the chair stayed empty. Constance arrived near midnight, carrying flowers and wearing an expression that didn't match the occasion. She held Roy, cooing softly, but her eyes were calculating. "You'll move back in permanently," she announced. "The basement is fine for now, but we'll convert the spare room. I'll help with the babies. You won't need anyone else." "I don't want to live in your basement with my children. Where else will you go? You have no job, no money, no support." Constance's voice hardened. "You need me. And you'll need to accept that." Alicia looked at her sons, their tiny faces peaceful in sleep. She thought about the video, about the convenient timing, about her mother's eagerness to show Damien. A suspicion had been growing for months, a dark possibility she hadn't wanted to acknowledge. "Did you edit that video?" The question came out quiet but direct. "The one you showed Damien. Did you manipulate it?" Constance's face revealed nothing. "Don't be ridiculous. I was trying to protect you by destroying my marriage, by bringing you home where you belong." She placed Roy back in the bassinet. "That man never deserved you, and now you're free of him." Alicia wanted to argue, to push, to demand the truth, but exhaustion pulled at her, and the babies needed her strength. She couldn't waste it fighting battles she had no energy to win. After Constance left, Alicia sat alone in the dim hospital room, holding Henry while Roy slept nearby. She looked down at her son's face and saw Damien's eyes staring back at her. The same amber shade, the same shape, undeniable. "Your daddy is going to miss everything," she whispered, "and he's never going to forgive himself. But I don't know if I'll ever forgive him either." Henry yawned, tiny fist curling around her finger. "We're going to be okay, though. Somehow, I promise." She made the promise to her sons, to herself, to the future that looked nothing like what she'd planned. And in that moment, holding new life in her arms while her old life lay in ruins, Alicia O'Connell learned what strength actually meant. It wasn't the absence of breaking. It was choosing to keep going after you shattered. Chapter 3. What Money Can't Buy Back. Damien built an empire on calculated risks, but the one gamble he couldn't afford was the one he'd already lost. The penthouse had floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the entire city. Every light represented someone living a life, eating dinner, watching television, holding someone they loved. From up here, Damien could see thousands of lives, but he couldn't see his own anymore. It had disappeared somewhere between the divorce papers and the silence that filled every room. Julius sat across from him, nursing a drink that had been full when he arrived. That was over an hour ago, and Damien hadn't said a word, just stared out at those lights, his own reflection ghosting over them. You going to talk, or are we just meeting to breathe the same air? Julius finally asked. What's there to say? Plenty, but you won't say any of it. Julius leaned forward, setting his empty glass on the coffee table with a deliberate clink. You've been like this for 4 years, Damien, hollow, going through motions. I watch you fire people for mistakes that wouldn't have bothered you before. I watch you drink alone. I watch you disappear into work. Like it's going to fill whatever hole you've got. Work is all there. That's the saddest thing I've ever heard you, say. Damien finally turned from the window. His face looked older than it should, carved with lines that had nothing to do with age. What do you want me to do, Jules? Fall apart? Cry about it? I made a choice. I live with it. You made a choice based on a lie. The words hung in the air like a challenge. Damien's jaw tightened. Don't what? Tell you the truth. Julius pulled a folder from his bag and dropped it on the table between them. I did some digging. Didn't tell you because I knew you'd stop me. But I couldn't watch you destroy yourself anymore. What is that? Information on Tobias Carver. The contractor from the video. Julius tapped the folder. Open it. Damien stared at the manila folder like it might explode. Part of him didn't want to know. Knowing meant facing something he'd spent 4 years running from. But a bigger part, the part that still woke up reaching for someone who wasn't there, needed to know. He opened it. Marriage certificate. Tobias Carver and Marcus Chen. Married 8 years ago. Photos of them together at pride parades, at charity events, at a restaurant with their arms around each other. Social media posts declaring love, celebrating anniversaries. Recent adoption announcement for a baby girl. Damien read every page twice. His hand started shaking around the 3rd page. He's gay, he said, the words barely making it past his throat. Very gay. Very married. Very much not interested in your ex-wife. Julius's voice held no satisfaction, only sadness. Which means that video was exactly what Alicia tried to tell you it was, innocent. And you didn't listen. The folder slipped from Damien's fingers, papers scattering across the expensive rug. He sat back, his head dropping into his hands. The sound that came out of him was broken, barely human. I destroyed her. It wasn't a question. I destroyed everything based on a lie. Yeah, you did. Julius didn't soften it, didn't try to make it easier. Damien was grateful for that. He didn't deserve easy. She tried to tell me. She begged me to listen. The memories came flooding back. Her face when he'd shown her the divorce papers, the way she'd reached for him, the desperate explanations he'd refused to hear. I wouldn't even read her letters. I know. Where is she now? I don't know. She disappeared after the divorce. No social media, no public records. It's like she vanished. Julius poured himself another drink. Maybe that's what she needed to do. Damien stood abruptly, pacing the length of the windows. Outside, the city continued its oblivious existence. People laughed. People loved. People made better choices than he had. I have to find her. I have to apologize. And say what? Sorry I believed a video over your word? Sorry I threw you out while you were pregnant? Sorry I've been a coward for 4 years? Julius shook his head. Words aren't going to fix this, brother. Then what will? I don't know if anything will. But you can't look for her out of guilt. You can only look if you're ready to accept that she might never forgive you, that she might not want to be found. The truth of that settled into Damien's bones. He'd burned the bridge, salted the earth, and now he wanted to cross back over like nothing had happened. Like devastation could be undone with an apology. He spent the next weeks searching anyway, hired investigators, called every contact, checked property records and employment databases. Alicia O'Connell had effectively disappeared. Then the hospital meeting happened. Damien's assistant had scheduled it months prior, a potential donation for a new pediatric wing. Community outreach, tax benefits, good publicity. He wasn't particularly interested, but Julius had insisted he go. Get out of the office. Talk to real people. Remember why money matters. So he went, walked through sterile corridors, following an administrator who talked numbers and blueprints. Damien wasn't listening. He was somewhere else, trapped in memories of Alicia's face, wondering if he'd ever get her to the OR now. She's crashing. The shout came from down the hallway. Medical staff rushed past, wheeling a gurney at alarming speed. Damien pressed against the wall to let them pass. For just a moment he saw the patient's face, Alicia pale as death, eyes closed, blood pressure monitor screaming warnings, nurses barking orders he didn't understand. Then she was gone, disappeared behind swinging doors marked "Authorized Personnel Only." Damien stood frozen in the hallway, his heart slamming against his ribs. The administrator was still talking, something about square footage and family waiting areas. He interrupted. "That woman, the one they just took. What happened to her?" "I'm sorry, sir. I can't discuss patient information. I need to know if she's okay." The administrator's face shifted into professional sympathy. "Are you family?" The question was simple. The answer destroyed him. "No, I'm not." He should have been listed as emergency contact, next of kin, the person they called first. Instead, he was a stranger, relegated to the hallway, watching the love of his life disappear into an operating room without even knowing his name. Damien didn't leave. He sat in the waiting area, ignoring calls and messages, while the minutes stretched into hours. The administrator gave up trying to continue the tour. Julius appeared eventually, summoned by a worried assistant. "What are you doing here?" "She's here, Alicia. Something's wrong." Damien couldn't look away from the OR doors. "I saw her. They said she's crashing." Julius sat beside him without comment. They waited together in silence until a doctor emerged, pulling off surgical gloves. "Family of Alicia O'Connell." Damien stood so fast he nearly fell. "How is she?" "And you are?" He stopped. "What was he?" "Ex-husband. Destroyer of dreams? The man who'd abandoned her." "I'm someone who cares, please. Is she okay?" The doctor studied him, clearly weighing confidentiality against compassion. "She's stable. Had some complications from a previous traumatic delivery. We've resolved the immediate crisis, but she'll need monitoring." "She was pregnant." Damien's voice came out strangled. "When?" "I really can't share more without her consent. But her sons are with a social worker if you'd like to." "Sons?" The word hit him like a physical blow. Sons, plural, children she'd had alone while he'd been busy nursing his wounded pride. Children who existed somewhere in this building, waiting for their mother. "Where?" he demanded. "Where are they?" The doctor pointed down the hall. "Pediatric wing. But sir, I should warn you." Damien was already moving. Julius followed, calling his name, but he couldn't stop, couldn't slow down. Had to see, had to know. The pediatric waiting area had bright murals and toys scattered across the floor. In the corner, two young boys sat with a woman holding a clipboard. They were coloring, heads bent close together, speaking in whispers only they could understand. Damien approached slowly. His legs felt like they might give out. One of the boys looked up and the world tilted. Amber eyes, his eyes, staring at him from a face that was half his, half Alicia's, completely perfect. "Can we help you?" the social worker asked. "Those boys," Damien managed. "What are their names?" "I'm sorry, but I can't release that information." "Are you family?" There was that question again. The one he didn't know how to answer anymore. The second boy looked up then, and Damien saw Alicia's smile, saw his own nose, saw 4 years of absence reflected in faces he should have known from birth. "No," he whispered. "I'm not family." He turned and walked away before he could break down in front of them. before they could see the stranger, who was supposed to be their father, completely fall apart. Julius caught up to him in the parking lot. Damien leaned against his car, breathing hard, the reality of what he'd seen crushing him. "Those are my sons." His voice cracked. "I have sons and they don't know me. They don't even know I exist. Damien, she went through everything alone. The pregnancy, the delivery, 4 years of raising them. And I wasn't there because I was too proud to ask a single question." He slid down to sit on the pavement, not caring about his suit or dignity or anything except the magnitude of what he'd lost. "How do I come back from this, Jules? How do I fix something this broken?" Julius crouched beside him, one hand on his shoulder. "I don't know. But running away again isn't the answer. What is the answer? The truth, all of it. And whatever comes after." Damien looked up at the hospital building, at the window where somewhere inside Alicia was waking up, where his sons were waiting for news about their mother, where his entire life had been living without him. "I don't deserve forgiveness." "Probably not," Julius agreed. "But those boys deserve a father, and maybe that's where you start." Chapter 4. The Mathematics of Regret. Some truths don't need lawyers or judges. They need only a child's face to deliver their verdict. Damien spent 3 days learning everything he could. Her address wasn't public record, but money opened doors that should have stayed closed. He knew which daycare the twins attended, which grocery store she shopped at, which pharmacy filled her prescriptions. The information came easy. Living with it was harder. On the 4th day, he sat in his car outside her building, a duplex in a neighborhood that was safe but tired, where people worked hard for less than they deserved. Her car, an aging sedan held together by hope and maintenance, was parked in the single assigned spot. Toys littered the small porch. A bicycle with training wheels lay on its side in brown grass that needed water. This was where his children lived. This was what his pride had reduced them to. He watched her routine, like studying a foreign language. Mornings she was rushed, getting 2 young boys ready while juggling her own preparation. She wore scrubs, medical billing, his investigator had reported, paying barely enough to cover rent and food. The twins would pile into her back seat, and she'd drive them to a daycare that advertised affordable quality care, which meant neither. One morning, Roy dropped his backpack in a puddle. Damien watched Alicia's face cycle through frustration, exhaustion, then forced brightness as she cleaned it with napkins from her glove box. She crouched down, eye level with Roy, saying something that made him laugh. Then she kissed both boys and watched them run inside before sitting in her car for 5 minutes with her forehead against the steering wheel. Damien's chest felt like it was caving in. She worked weekends, too. He followed once and found her at a pharmacy standing behind the counter filling prescriptions. Her shift didn't end until midnight. When she got home, she checked on the boys. A neighbor lady stayed with them, according to his research, before collapsing on her couch, still wearing her uniform. This was the life he'd given her. Single mother, dual jobs. Exhaustion etched into every movement. "You going to keep stalking her or actually do something?" Julius asked over lunch one afternoon. "I don't know what to do. Start with what you're good at." "Which is?" "Fixing problems. Building things." Julius pushed a folder across the table. "That neighborhood she lives in. No community center, no after-school programs. Kids have nowhere to go while parents work. You want to help your sons without forcing yourself on her? Build something they need." Damien opened the folder. "Proposed plans for a community center, free programs, safe spaces, educational opportunities. Exactly what Henry and Roy would benefit from. I can do this anonymously." "You can do anything anonymously if you pay the right people," Julius smiled grimly. "Though keeping it secret forever? That's harder." Construction began within weeks. Damien oversaw every detail personally, something he hadn't done in years. He made sure the building had everything: library, computer lab, gymnasium, art studio. He hired staff who actually cared about the community they served. He funded scholarships that covered materials and snacks and anything else that might keep kids coming back. When the center opened, Henry and Roy's names were first on the enrollment list. Damien made sure of it. He started volunteering there, used a different company name on his badge, wore regular clothes instead of suits, kept his distance but stayed present. He watched his sons from across rooms, learning them like textbooks. Henry was bold, quick to laugh, always moving. He dominated at chess, won every game with strategies that seemed instinctive. Roy was quieter, more thoughtful. He struggled with reading, but came alive during music class, his voice pure and confident when he sang. Damien memorized everything. Henry liked blue raspberry flavor and hated mushrooms. Roy was left-handed and afraid of thunder. They shared a language of glances, entire conversations happening in looks only they understood. They were magnificent. One afternoon, Roy's shoelace came undone during basketball. He was trying to tie it himself, frustrated when the loops wouldn't cooperate. Damien moved without thinking, crouching down. "Let me help." Roy looked at him with solemn eyes. "Okay." Damien's hands shook as he tied the simple knot. Being this close, touching his son for the first time, nearly broke him. He finished quickly, forcing his voice steady. "There you go." "Thank you, mister." Roy studied him with an intensity that was unnerving. "You look sad." "I'm okay. My mama says it's okay to be sad. It means you loved something." The wisdom seemed impossible from someone so young. "Did you love something?"
"Yeah," Damien managed.
"I did. You should tell them. Mama says people need to hear it." Roy ran back to the game, leaving Damien crouched on the floor trying to breathe. A 5-year-old had just delivered more truth than he'd faced in 4 years. The center became his second home. He was there whenever the twins were, always in peripheral vision, never intrusive. Staff knew him as the wealthy donor who couldn't stay away. They didn't question it. Rich people had their eccentricities. Then one evening, Alicia showed up. The center was hosting a fundraiser, trying to expand programming. Damien was helping set up tables when he heard her voice. It stopped him cold. "I just want to thank whoever made this possible. This place has been everything for my boys." He turned slowly. She stood across the room talking to the director, wearing a dress that had been altered to fit her thinner frame. Her hair was pulled back simply. No makeup covered the exhaustion. But she was smiling, genuinely smiling, and Damien felt the full weight of what he'd destroyed. She had been radiant once, full of light. He dimmed that, extinguished it. And she'd spent 4 years rebuilding herself into this version, still beautiful, still strong, but marked by everything she'd survived alone. Their eyes met. The world compressed to that single moment. Recognition flashed across her face, followed by shock, then something harder to read. She looked away first, turning back to the director mid-sentence. Damien forced himself to keep working, kept his hands busy, didn't approach, didn't try to explain, gave her the space she clearly wanted. But when she left an hour later, he followed her to the parking lot. Not to talk, just to make sure she got to her car safely. She knew he was there. He saw her shoulders tense, her pace quicken. When she reached her car, she sat behind the wheel without starting it. He stayed at the building's entrance, just far enough away. After several minutes, she drove off. Damien stood in the empty lot and realized the hardest part of loving someone isn't the absence. It's being present and still being unwanted. Julius found him there an hour later, still standing in the same spot. "She saw you." "Yeah." "What did she say?" "Nothing. She left. Maybe that's all she can do right now." Julius guided him toward his car. "You're building something good here. Keep building. Let that speak for you." So Damien kept building, kept showing up, kept being the background presence in his sons' lives while their mother pretended he didn't exist. It wasn't enough. It would never be enough, but it was all he knew how to do. Chapter 5: The Architecture of Absence. Damien learned that proximity and closeness are not the same. You can be near someone and still be worlds away. The center expanded. New programs sprouted weekly, cooking classes, robotics club, dance lessons. Damien funded everything, staying anonymous, watching his investment in his sons' lives grow from the shadows. He learned the schedule, knew which days Henry had chess club, and when Roy's music lessons happened, he was there for all of it. Henry noticed him first. Kids always notice the adults who pay attention without asking for attention back. During a chess tournament, Henry paused mid-game to study Damien's face from across the room. "You're always here," Henry said later, approaching with the confidence of someone who'd never learned to fear strangers. "I like watching the games." "You any good?" "Used to be." Henry's eyes lit up. "Want to play?" Everything in Damien wanted to say yes. To sit across from his son, to teach him strategies, to share something. But he couldn't, not yet. Not without Alicia's permission. Maybe another time. "You always say that." Henry wasn't accusatory, just observant. "Why do you come here if you don't do anything?" "Because you're here. Because I'm trying to learn the shape of what I destroyed. Because being near you is the closest I can get to forgiveness. I'm trying to figure out where I fit," Damien said instead. Henry nodded like this made perfect sense. "I get that. Sometimes I don't know where I fit either. Except with Roy, we always fit together." The statement was so simple, so profound, that Damien had to look away. "You're lucky to have each other." "Yeah, Mama says some people are born fitting together, like puzzle pieces." Henry picked up his chess pieces, preparing for another game. "You should keep trying, though. Eventually you figure out your spot." The advice from a 5-year-old shouldn't have hit so hard. But it did. Roy approached him differently. During art class, he sat at the table where Damien was helping younger kids with projects. Didn't say anything, just started drawing. His picture was of their duplex, the small porch, the broken bicycle, 3 stick figures holding hands. "That's my family," Roy said without looking up. "Me, Henry, and Mama. It's beautiful. It's missing something, though." Roy added another figure, taller, separated from the others. "There's supposed to be someone else. But he's not there anymore." Damien's throat closed. "Who is he?" "Our dad. Mama doesn't talk about him, but I know he exists somewhere. Henry says maybe he's dead. I think he just doesn't want us." Every word was a knife. "Why would you think that?" Roy shrugged. "Because if someone wanted you, they'd be there, right?" The logic was airtight, devastating, completely accurate. "Maybe he's trying to find his way back," Damien offered quietly. "Maybe he made mistakes and doesn't know how to fix them. Mistakes can be fixed. You just say sorry and mean it." Roy added details to the separated figure, a face with amber eyes. "That's what Mama teaches us. Some mistakes are bigger than sorry. Then you say sorry and show it, with actions." Roy looked at him then, really looked. "You know a lot about mistakes." "Yeah, I do." Roy went back to his drawing, apparently satisfied with the conversation. Damien sat there shaking, wondering how his 5-year-old son had just delivered the truth he'd been dancing around for months. Show it. With actions, he was trying. But was he trying hard enough? That weekend, both boys started a basketball program. Damien volunteered to help coach. He wore a baseball cap pulled low, stayed focused on teaching fundamentals. During water breaks, he'd watch Henry and Roy joke with each other, their bond visible in every interaction. During one practice, Roy fell hard, skinning both knees. Tears welled up immediately. Before Damien could move, Henry was there, helping his brother stand, brushing off the dirt. "You're okay. Mama says we're tough. Remember?" Roy nodded, swallowing his tears. "We're tough." They held hands for a moment, drawing strength from each other, then rejoined the game. Damien watched the exchange and understood what Alicia had built without him. She'd raised warriors, boys who knew how to hurt and keep going, who leaned on each other because there was no one else to lean on. She'd done that alone. The guilt was crushing. After practice, he helped clean up equipment. The other volunteers had left. He was putting balls in the storage room when he heard her voice. "You can stop pretending you're someone else." He turned. Alicia stood in the gymnasium doorway, arms crossed. Her face was carefully blank, but her eyes held fire. "I know it's you," she continued. "I've known for weeks. Did you think I wouldn't recognize you? That a baseball cap would somehow erase 4 years of knowing every line of your face?" Damien set down the equipment slowly. I didn't mean to deceive. Don't! Her voice cracked like a whip. Don't you dare say you didn't mean something. You meant everything you did, including this. Sneaking around, playing volunteer, getting close to my children without asking permission. They're my children too. You gave up that right when you walked away. The words landed like they were meant to, brutal and accurate. Damien stepped forward, then stopped when she stepped back. I was wrong, he said. About everything. The video, the accusations, not listening. I was wrong, and I've been trying to what? Make it better. Buy your way back in? Alicia's voice shook now. You built this place for them. I figured that out. You fund their programs. You watch them from corners. You think that's penance? You think that erases what you did? No, nothing erases it. Then why are you here? Because I don't know how else to be close to them. To you, his voice dropped. Because every day without you has been punishment, and seeing them, seeing what I missed, it's killing me, Alicia. But staying away would kill me faster, she laughed, bitter and broken. You want sympathy? You want me to feel bad for you? I was alone in an operating room, having your children while you were busy nursing your wounded pride. I raised them through colic and nightmares, and every milestone you should have witnessed. I worked myself to exhaustion keeping them fed and safe while you got to sit in your expensive apartment, feeling sorry for yourself. I know. You don't know anything. Tears streaked her face now, angry tears that she wiped away furiously. You don't know what it's like to be abandoned while pregnant, to give birth terrified and alone, to hold two babies and know their father chose to believe a lie instead of fighting for the truth. You don't get to know that pain, Damien. That's mine. He wanted to hold her, wanted to apologize until his voice gave out, wanted to erase 4 years and start over, but none of that was possible. The distance between them was measured in broken promises and destroyed trust, and no amount of wanting could bridge it. I'm sorry, he said, knowing it wasn't enough. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. It's not worth much. Alicia turned to leave, then stopped. But for what it's worth, they ask about you. Henry thinks you're interesting. Roy thinks you look sad. They don't know you're their father, and I haven't decided if they ever will. That's my choice now. You gave up your right to choose when you served me divorce papers. She walked away, her footsteps echoing in the empty gym. Damien stood in the aftermath, surrounded by basketballs and the wreckage of everything he'd destroyed. Later, sitting in his car, he called Julius. She knows. She confronted me. What did she say? Everything I deserved to hear. Damien leaned his head back, eyes closed. She's right. I'm playing at penance while she's lived the consequences. So what are you going to do? I don't know. Keep building things for them. Keep trying to be present. Hope that eventually she'll... Stop hoping, Julius interrupted. Stop waiting for her permission to exist in your children's lives. You want to be their father? Then be it. Show up. Ask her directly what she needs from you. Stop hiding behind volunteers and donations and start being real. What if she says no? Then at least you asked. At least you tried. But this halfway thing you're doing, where you're present but not really, that's just another way of running. The truth in those words burned. Damien had been running his entire life, from vulnerability, from real connection, from anything that required him to be fully exposed. He'd run from Alicia when the video appeared because running was easier than facing the possibility of being hurt. And he was still running now. I need to stop, he said. Quietly. Yeah, you do. That night, Damien sat down and wrote a letter, not making excuses, not asking for forgiveness, just laying out the truth, all of it unvarnished and raw. He told her about the investigation into Tobias, about the months of searching for her, about finding the hospital, about seeing the boys for the first time and realizing the magnitude of what he'd destroyed. He ended with, I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't even expect you to respond. I just needed you to know that destroying us destroyed me too. And I'm sorry. For the rest of my life, I'm sorry. He mailed it before he could second guess. Then he waited. Days passed. No response. A week. Nothing. 2 weeks. Silence. On the 15th day, he found her sitting in her car outside the community center. She'd been crying. The letter sat on her dashboard, worn from being read multiple times. He approached slowly, tapping on the window. She looked at him with red-rimmed eyes and unlocked the door. He sat in the passenger seat, both of them staring forward. "I read it," she finally said. "Okay, it doesn't fix anything. I know, but it's the first time you've been honest since this whole thing started." She wiped her face. 4 years, Damien. You were honest for 4 years, and then you weren't. And that's the part I can't get past. How quickly you stopped trusting me. I was scared. Of what? Of being the fool. Of loving someone more than they loved me. Of being vulnerable. He turned to look at her profile, memorizing the changes 4 years had carved. My whole life people left, my father, my mother in every way that mattered. I built walls because it was safer than risking that pain again. And then you came, and you made me believe those walls could come down. So you rebuilt them, she finished. The first time something challenged your trust, you chose the walls over me. Yes, and it's the worst decision I've ever made. They sat in heavy silence. Outside, kids played on the center's playground. Their laughter filtered through the closed windows, a reminder of innocence neither of them felt anymore. "I don't know what you want from me," Alicia said eventually. "What outcome you're hoping for? I want to know my sons. I want a chance to be their father, even if I don't deserve it. And what about me?" The question hung between them, loaded with 4 years of hurt. "I want you to be happy," Damien said honestly, "even if that happiness doesn't include me." Alicia looked at him then, really looked. "You've changed. Or maybe you're showing me parts that were always there. I'm trying to be better. To be what I should have been. Better late than never feels like bullshit when you're the one who had to raise 2 children alone." But her voice lacked the earlier anger. Now she just sounded tired. "I haven't decided anything yet about you seeing them, about any of this. I'll wait, however long it takes. Don't make promises you might not keep. I'm not leaving again, Alicia. No matter what you decide, I'm staying, even if it's from a distance." She opened her car door, signaling the conversation's end. But before she left, she said, "They have a soccer game next Saturday. You should come, not as a volunteer, as yourself." Then she was gone, leaving Damien sitting in her passenger seat, trying to understand what had just happened. Julius called an hour later. "Well?" "She invited me to their soccer game. That's progress. Or it's a test," Damien countered. "To see if I'll show up. If I'll keep my word, then show up. Keep your word. That's all you can do." Saturday came slower than any week Damien had experienced. He arrived early, found a spot on the sidelines, and waited. Henry and Roy ran onto the field in matching jerseys, all energy and excitement. They waved at Alicia, who sat in the bleachers with other parents. She didn't wave at Damien, didn't acknowledge him. But she didn't ask him to leave either. The game started. Henry played forward, aggressive and fearless. Roy was defense, more cautious but strategic. They were good, clearly practiced. Damien watched them play and felt the ache of every game he'd missed, every practice, every small triumph he hadn't witnessed. Halfway through, Roy glanced at the sideline and spotted him. Their eyes met. Roy's expression cycled through confusion, recognition, then something softer. He turned to Henry, whispered something. Henry looked over, squinting. Both boys stared. Damien raised one hand in a small wave. Henry waved back. The game continued, but everything had shifted. The boys kept glancing over, clearly distracted, clearly processing. When the final whistle blew, they ran straight to Alicia. Damien watched from a distance as she bent down, listening to their rapid questions, her face unreadable. She looked up, met his eyes across the field. Then she nodded once. "Permission." Damien approached slowly, every step feeling monumental. When he reached them, Henry spoke first. "You're the volunteer guy from the center." "I am." "But you're also something else," Roy added. "Aren't you?" Alicia's hand rested on Roy's shoulder. "Boys, there's something I need to tell you." "This is Damien Sims." "We know," Henry said. We've met him before. You know his full name?" Both boys nodded. Roy said quietly, "That's our last name, too." The observation hung in the air. These children were smart. They'd already connected dots she hadn't realized they could see. Alicia took a breath. "He's your father." The world seemed to pause. Bird stopped mid-flight. Wind held its breath. Everything waited for the twins' reaction. Henry's face scrunched in concentration. "The dad who's not there anymore." "Yes, but he's here now," Roy observed. "He is. Why?" Henry looked directly at Damien. "Why weren't you there before, and why are you here now?" The question deserved honesty. Damien knelt down, eye level with his sons. "I made a terrible mistake. I believed something about your mother that wasn't true, and instead of asking her about it, I walked away. I was wrong, and I'm sorry." "Did you say sorry to Mama?" Roy asked. "I'm trying to. Is she forgiving you?" "I don't know yet. That's her choice." Henry and Roy looked at each other, having one of their silent conversations. Then Henry turned back. "We have to go home now, but maybe you could come to our next game." "I'd like that." "Okay, see you then." Just like that, they ran off to collect their gear. No drama, no big moment. Just simple acceptance from two children who'd learned early that life rarely went according to plan. Alicia watched them go, then looked at Damien. "That wasn't permission for more? Just for this? I know. But it's something. It's everything." She walked away without another word, gathering her sons, loading them into her aging car. Damien stood on the empty field long after they'd gone, feeling like he'd just been given a gift he hadn't earned, but would spend forever trying to deserve. Chapter 6. Conversations with Ghosts. Alicia had spent 4 years building a life without him, only to discover he'd been haunting the edges of it all along. The center felt different now. Every corner held memory. The chess tables where she'd seen Damien watching Henry, the art room where Roy had drawn stick figures of their family, the basketball court where she'd confronted him, her anger still fresh and burning. She couldn't escape him here, couldn't pretend he was just another volunteer. Everyone knew now. Staff whispered when she walked past, questions hovering unspoken. Some looked sympathetic, others looked judgmental, probably wondering what she'd done to drive away a man who'd built an entire community center. They didn't know, couldn't know, and she was tired of explaining. She started limiting the boys' time there, not cutting it off completely, that would punish them for adult problems, but reducing visits. When Henry complained, she made excuses about homework and dinner schedules. When Roy asked if it was because of their dad, she changed the subject, but Roy had always been perceptive. He saw through her deflections. "We saw him again," Henry announced one evening during dinner. "At the library." Alicia's fork paused halfway to her mouth. "What? Dad, he was there." "We said hi. He helped Roy pick out books." Henry stabbed at his broccoli. "Is that okay?" "That we talked to him?" She didn't know how to answer. Was it okay? Should she be drawing harder lines? "What did you talk about?" "Books, mostly. He knows a lot about space." "Roy's really into planets now." Henry glanced at his brother. "Tell her about Saturn." Roy launched into an explanation about rings and moons, his face animated in a way she hadn't seen before. Damien had given him this new interest, this spark, and she hated that it mattered. Hated that her sons were starting to orbit around their father's presence, like they'd been waiting for gravity to pull them somewhere new. After the boys went to bed, Alicia pulled out the box she'd kept hidden in her closet. Letters she'd written 4 years ago, unsent, unread, full of explanations Damien had refused to hear. She opened one at random. "I don't know how to make you believe me. I don't know how to prove innocence when you've already decided I'm guilty. But these babies deserve better than your doubt. They deserve a father who would have asked." The words still held power, still cut deep. She'd poured her heart into these letters, and they'd all come back marked "Return to Sender." He hadn't wanted the truth then, but he seemed to want it now. The question was, did his timing matter? Did his regret count when it came years too late? She read through more letters, each one a time capsule of pain. By the last one, tears blurred her vision. Not angry tears, just exhausted ones. The kind that came from carrying weight too long. A knock at the door startled her. She wiped her face quickly, expecting a neighbor. Instead, through the peephole, she saw her mother. Constance stood on the porch holding a casserole dish, her smile bright and fake. Alicia hadn't invited her, hadn't spoken to her beyond necessary pleasantries in weeks. She opened the door, but didn't invite her in. "What do you want?" "I brought dinner. Thought you could use a home-cooked meal." Constance's eyes flickered past her, scanning the interior. "Can I come in?" "No. Alicia, don't be like this. I'm your mother. You're the person who destroyed my marriage." The smile faltered. "I don't know what you're talking about. The video, the one you showed Damien. Tell me the truth. Did you edit it?" "This again? I was trying to protect you." "From what?" Alicia's voice rose. "From love? From happiness? From having a life that didn't revolve around you? From making a mistake?" Constance's mask cracked slightly. "That man was never right for you. Too proud. Too controlling. You were better off without him. That wasn't your decision to make. Someone had to make it. You were so blinded by him, you couldn't see what was right in front of you. What was right in front of me? A loving husband? A good man? Someone who would have been a great father if you hadn't poisoned everything?" Constance's face hardened. "He didn't love you." "Not really. If he did, he wouldn't have believed the video so easily. I just showed him who he really was. Someone who would abandon you at the first sign of trouble. You created the trouble." Alicia's hands shook. "You manufactured it, packaged it, and served it to him knowing exactly what he'd do. You manipulated both of us because you couldn't stand that I chose him over you. I'm your mother. You should choose me. You're a liar and a manipulator, and I'm done." Alicia stepped back, hand on the door. "Don't come here again. Don't call. Don't try to see the boys. You're not welcome in our lives anymore. You can't keep my grandsons from me. Watch me." She closed the door on her mother's protests, locked it, and stood in the silence that followed. Her heart pounded. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. But underneath the adrenaline, she felt something else. Relief, freedom, the weight of pretending to forgive lifting. She'd always known, in some buried part of herself, had suspected her mother's role in everything, but confirmation made it real, made it something she couldn't ignore anymore. Damien had believed the lie. That was his fault, but Constance had created it. And that was unforgivable. The next morning, she called the center, asked to speak with Damien. When he answered, his voice was cautious. "Alicia, I need to talk to you. Not about the boys, but what happened." "Okay, when? Now, can you meet me somewhere?" They agreed on a coffee shop in neutral territory. She arrived first, ordered tea she wouldn't drink, and waited. When Damien walked in, he looked like he hadn't slept. His clothes were expensive but rumpled. His face carried exhaustion like a permanent accessory. He sat across from her without ordering anything. "I confronted my mother," Alicia said without preamble. "About the video." Damien's attention sharpened. "What did she say?" "She didn't deny it." "Not really. She danced around it, but when I pushed, she said you didn't really love me because if you did, you wouldn't have believed it so easily." "That's bullshit." "Is it?" Alicia met his eyes. "Because you did believe it easily. One video and everything we built meant nothing." "I know. And I hate myself for it." "Hating yourself doesn't change anything." She wrapped her hands around the teacup, needing something to hold. "But knowing she orchestrated it, that changes something. It doesn't excuse what you did, but it explains it. She really edited it. I don't have proof, but I know her. I know how much she hated you. How much she hated that I was happy without her controlling everything." Alicia's voice cracked slightly. "She couldn't stand that I chose you, so she made sure choosing you became impossible." Damien was quiet for a long moment. "We were both victims of her manipulation, but only one of us abandoned the other. I know." They sat in heavy silence. Other customers came and went, living normal lives, having normal problems. Alicia envied them. "What do you want to happen now?" Damien finally asked. "With the boys. With us. There is no us." "I know. But there are them." She pulled out her phone, showed him a photo of Henry and Roy at their last birthday party. "They're asking about you constantly. Henry wants to know if you play video games. Roy wants to know if you can sing. They're curious about this man who appeared in their lives." "What did you tell them?" "That you're their father. That you made mistakes. That I'm figuring out what comes next." "Have you figured it out?" "No." She put her phone away. "But I think they should know you. Supervised, limited on my terms. Whatever terms you want. Don't agree so quickly. My terms are strict. You show up when you say you will. You call if you can't make it. You don't make promises you can't keep. You don't bad-mouth me to them, and you don't try to buy their affection with expensive gifts. Agreed? And you accept that this might never become more than this. They might know you. You might be their father in name. But we're not going to be a family. Not the way we were." The words clearly hurt him. Good. He should hurt. He should understand what he destroyed. "I accept that," he said quietly. "Then we start slowly. 1 visit a week. In public places. I'll be there. When they're comfortable, maybe you can take them somewhere without me. But that's months away, Damien. Maybe years. I'll wait. Stop saying that like it's noble. You should have to wait. You should have to earn every minute with them." She stood to leave, then paused. "And Damien? Thank you. For what? For not fighting me on this. For accepting that I'm the one who gets to make these decisions." She met his eyes. "You gave up your rights when you walked away. This is me giving you a chance to earn them back." She left him sitting in the coffee shop, probably processing, probably hurting. She didn't feel guilty. Guilt required believing she'd done something wrong, and protecting her children from instability wasn't wrong. Over the next weeks, they established a routine. Saturday afternoons, the park, 1 hour. Damien would show up exactly on time, bring nothing except himself, and spend 60 minutes getting to know his sons. Alicia watched from a bench 20 feet away, close enough to intervene, far enough to let them breathe. Henry warmed up quickly. He had his father's ease with strangers, that ability to find common ground. He challenged Damien to races, demand pushes on the swing, ask endless questions about everything. Roy took longer. He'd sit close to Damien but wouldn't talk much. Just observed, studied, learned the shape of this new presence in his life. One Saturday, Roy brought his drawings, spread them on the picnic table like an offering. "Mama says you're good at building things," Roy said. "These are my building designs." Damien looked through each one carefully, took his time, asked questions about choices. When he finished, he said, "These are incredible. You have a real gift." Roy's face lit up. "You think so?" "I know so." From her bench, Alicia watched the moment. Watched her son blossom under attention from someone who shared his blood. It should have made her happy. Instead, it made her ache. These were moments Damien should have had all along, should have been there for from birth. And she hated that they were starting now, years late, forced by circumstance instead of choice. After the visit, Henry asked, "Can Dad come to our house sometime?" "Not yet." "Why not?" "Because I said not yet." Henry frowned. "You don't like him." "It's complicated, so you always say that. But it's not complicated. Either you like someone or you don't. If only that were true. If only feelings were binary, simple, manageable. But loving someone and not trusting them, that was the complicated part. Wanting them to be good for your children while knowing what they'd done to you, that was the impossible balance. That night, after the boys were asleep, Alicia sat in her bedroom and looked at the letter Damien had written, the one she'd kept on her nightstand. She'd read it so many times, the creases were starting to tear. "I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't even expect you to respond. I just needed you to know that destroying us destroyed me too." Part of her wanted that to matter, wanted his pain to balance hers somehow. But pain didn't work like scales. His suffering didn't reduce hers. It just meant they were both suffering, and that helped no one. She pulled out her own old letters, the ones she'd written and he'd never read. On impulse, she took a photo of one and texted it to him with a simple message: "These are what you sent back unopened." His response came immediately. "Can I have them?" "Why?" "Because I want to read what you tried to tell me. I want to know what I refused to hear." She considered it. Sending them meant giving him access to her most vulnerable moments, meant letting him see exactly how much he'd hurt her, but maybe that was necessary. Maybe he needed to understand the full scope of the destruction. "I'll think about it," she texted back. She didn't send them that night, but she didn't throw them away either. They stayed on her nightstand next to his letter, two collections of words that couldn't bridge the gap between them, but maybe, someday, might help explain how it got so wide. Chapter 7. The Inheritance of Truth. Henry and Roy were 6 when they learned that sometimes the biggest mysteries live in your own bloodline. School had taught them to research. Mrs. Patterson encouraged it. When you have questions, find answers. So when their questions about their father kept growing, they decided to find answers themselves. The library computer became their investigation headquarters. They waited until after school, when the librarian was busy with other kids, and searched Damien Sims. Articles appeared, lots of them. Pictures of their father in suits, standing in front of buildings, shaking hands with important-looking people. Words like philanthropist and developer that they didn't fully understand, but sounded impressive. "He's rich," Henry whispered, eyes wide. "Really rich," Roy agreed, scrolling through images. "Look at that house." They found a photo of a penthouse with glass walls and a city view. Their duplex could fit in one room of that place. "Why don't we live there?" Henry wondered aloud. "Because he left Mama, remember?" "But why would someone leave if they loved you?" Roy had no answer. Neither did Henry, so they kept searching, printing pages when the librarian wasn't looking, gathering evidence of their father's existence like detectives. They brought their findings home, hidden in backpacks. That night, while Alicia cooked dinner, they spread everything across Henry's bed. "We should write to him," Roy suggested. "Mama won't like that." "We don't have to tell her. We can just do it." The idea was exciting and terrifying, but they were 6 now, big enough to make some decisions, brave enough to try. They spent an hour crafting the perfect letter. Henry's handwriting was neater, so he wrote while Roy dictated. "Dear Dad, we are Henry and Roy. We are 6. We think you should meet us more, not just at the park, maybe at our house, or we could see where you live. Mama says you made mistakes. We make mistakes too. It's okay. Please write back, Henry and Roy." They found his business address online, copied it carefully onto an envelope, and mailed it the next day using allowance money for the stamp. Then they waited. Days passed. Nothing. A week. Still nothing? "Maybe he didn't get it," Henry said, though he sounded doubtful. "Or maybe he doesn't want to write back." Roy's voice was small. "Maybe he doesn't really want us." "Don't say that." But they both worried it might be true. Their father came to the park every Saturday, was polite, played games with them. But there was a distance, a carefulness, like he was afraid of getting too close. What they didn't know was that Damien had received the letter immediately, had read it at his office and collapsed into his chair, tears streaming. Julius found him like that, holding the carefully written note. "They want to see where I live," Damien managed. "They want more than Saturday afternoons." "Then give it to them." Alicia would never allow it. "Have you asked?" Damien hadn't. He'd been so careful to respect every boundary, to not push, to accept whatever scraps she offered. But his sons were asking for more, and maybe it was time to advocate for them, instead of just accommodating her anger. He called Alicia that night. "The boys sent me a letter." Silence. "Then what kind of letter?" "They want to spend more time with me." "They want to see my home." "No." "Alicia, please." I said no. "We have an arrangement. 1 hour, Saturday afternoons. That's it. They're asking for more. They're ready for more. I don't care what they're ready for. I'm their mother and I decide what's safe. I'm not unsafe. You abandoned them. That's pretty fucking unsafe in my book. The line went quiet. Damien could hear her breathing, angry and sharp. What if I could prove I've changed? He asked quietly. What would that look like? There's no proving that. Change is shown over time, and we're barely a few months into you showing up. Then tell me what you need. What would make you trust me enough to give them more time? I don't know if I'll ever trust you again. Then trust them. Trust that they're smart enough to know what they need. They're 6. They're 6 and asking for their father. That means something. More silence. Longer this time. When Alicia spoke again, her voice was different, tired, uncertain. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to protect them from being disappointed again. I won't disappoint them. You can't promise that. No one can promise that. Then let me try. Let me prove I can show up consistently. Let me be more than Saturday afternoons. He heard her exhale, a sound that carried 4 years of weight. One trial, one afternoon at your place. I'll come too. I'll sit in another room, but I'll be there. And if anything feels wrong, if they seem uncomfortable even once, we go back to the park. Okay, thank you. Don't thank me. Just don't fuck it up. She hung up before he could respond. That Saturday, instead of the park, Alicia drove to Damien's building. The boys had been vibrating with excitement all morning. They dressed in their best clothes, hand-me-downs from older cousins, but clean and carefully chosen. Is his house really big? Henry asked for the 10th time. I don't know. We're about to find out. The lobby was marble and glass. A doorman greeted them professionally. The elevator had mirrors on every wall. Henry and Roy stared at their reflections, momentarily distracted from their nerves. Damien met them at his door. He dressed down, jeans and a simple shirt, but couldn't hide the expensive surroundings. The penthouse sprawled behind him, all open space and views. Whoa, Henry breathed. Come in, Damien said, stepping aside. The boys entered slowly, eyes huge. They'd never seen a home like this. Glass walls showing the entire city. Furniture that looked like it belonged in magazines. Art on walls. Space, so much space. You live here alone? Roy asked. Yes. That's sad. It's so big. The observation was innocent but cut deep. Damien had built this place as armor. Now his son saw it as loneliness. Alicia entered last, her face carefully neutral. Nice place. Thank you. He gestured toward the living room. I set up some things for them. Games, art supplies. I wasn't sure what they'd like. The boys discovered the setup and dove in immediately. Soon they were building with blocks, completely absorbed. Damien and Alicia stood awkwardly near the kitchen. You want coffee? He offered. No, I'm fine. They stood in silence, watching the boys play. It felt surreal. Their children in his home, the life that should have been intersecting with the life that was. They're amazing, Damien said quietly. You did that. You raised incredible humans. Don't try to compliment your way into my good graces. I'm not trying anything. I'm just stating fact. Alicia looked at him then, really looked. You're not who you were. No one is who they were 4 years ago. That's not what I mean. She crossed her arms, defensive. You're softer now, less certain. The Damien I knew always had answers. This version doesn't seem to have any. I don't. I'm figuring it out as I go. That's terrifying. Why? Because I'm figuring it out too. And I thought at least one of us should know what we're doing. For the first time in months, something like humor flickered between them. Not laughter, just recognition that they were both stumbling through this impossibly complicated situation. Henry called over. Dad, can you help build this tower? The word Dad still made Damien's breath catch. He looked at Alicia for permission. She nodded once. He joined the boys on the floor, started building with them, made suggestions when they asked, praised their creativity, fell into the role like it had been waiting for him to show up. Alicia watched from the kitchen, watched her sons interact with their father naturally, easily, watched Damien be patient in ways she'd forgotten he could be, watched the three of them together and felt something complicated twist in her chest. They looked right together, like pieces that fit despite the years apart, and that scared her more than anything else. After 2 hours, she called it. Time to go, boys. Already? Henry protested. We just got here. We agreed on 2 hours. That's done." Complaints followed but died quickly when they saw her face. The boys hugged Damien goodbye, tentatively but genuinely, and collected their things. At the door, Roy turned back. "Can we come again?" Damien looked at Alicia. She sighed. "We'll see." In the car, Henry asked, "Why don't you like Dad's house?" "I never said I didn't like it. But you looked mad the whole time." "I wasn't mad. I was cautious." "What's the difference?" A good question. She didn't have a good answer. That night, after tucking the boys in, Alicia sat on her porch in the dark. Her phone buzzed. A text from Damien, "Thank you for today." It meant everything. She stared at the message. Meant everything. Those words used to mean something when he said them. When they were married, "I love you" came with those words attached. Every anniversary, "You mean everything." Every difficult day, "We mean everything." Then he'd thrown away everything for a video. But today, watching him with their sons, she'd seen glimpses of the man she'd loved. The one who'd been buried under pride and fear. The one who maybe possibly could still exist underneath all the scar tissue. She didn't respond to his text. But she didn't delete it either. Progress, she supposed, came in strange forms. Like not deleting messages. Like allowing visits. Like letting her heart consider the possibility that people could change. Even when every instinct screamed not to trust it. Chapter 8. The country between broken and whole. Rebuilding trust is not a bridge. It's a tightrope. And every step threatens to break everything again. 3 months of consistent visits. 3 months of Damien showing up exactly when he said he would. 3 months of watching him parent their children with patience she'd forgotten he possessed. 3 months of her anger slowly, reluctantly, beginning to soften around the edges. It terrified her. She'd built her life on that anger. Used it as fuel to get through impossible days. Letting it go felt like losing the foundation she'd built everything on. Julius noticed it too. He'd started coming to some visits, Damien's buffer, his support. One afternoon, while the boys played at the park, he sat beside Alicia on her usual bench. "You're less tense lately," he observed. "Am I? Used to be, you looked like you were waiting for disaster. Now you just look tired." "I am tired. Of being angry." She considered that. "Maybe. Or maybe I'm just tired of everything being so complicated." "It could be simpler," Julia suggested carefully. "If you wanted it to be. You think I should just forgive him? Pretend the last 4 years didn't happen? I think you should do whatever keeps you sane. But I also think holding on to anger when someone's genuinely changed, that's just hurting yourself. He destroyed our family. And he's spent every day since trying to rebuild it. That doesn't erase what he did." "No, but it might mean something anyway." Julia stood, preparing to rejoin Damien and the boys. "Just don't punish yourself trying to punish him. That's all I'm saying." His words stayed with her. That night, after the boys were asleep, she did something she'd been avoiding. She pulled out all the letters, his to her, hers to him, and read them chronologically. Her letters from 4 years ago, full of desperation and pain. His recent letter, full of regret and clarity. Side by side, they told a story of 2 people who'd loved each other and broken anyway. On impulse, she packed her old letters into an envelope and addressed it to Damien. No note, just the letters he'd never read. She mailed them before she could change her mind. 2 days later, her phone rang. Damien's name on the screen. She almost didn't answer. "Hello?" "I read them." His voice was wrecked. "All of them." "Every word." She said nothing. "You told me everything," he continued. "About Tobias. About your mother. About how scared you were. And I sent them back without opening a single one. I know. How do you not hate me?" The question came out raw. "How do you even look at me after reading what you went through?" "I did hate you." "For a very long time. But not now. Now I don't know what I feel." She sat on her porch steps, phone pressed to her ear. "I'm tired, Damien. I'm tired of being angry. Tired of protecting myself from you. Tired of watching our sons split themselves between us. What do you want to happen?" "I want to believe you've changed. I want to believe you won't leave again the next time something challenges your trust." "I won't. You can't know that. Yes, I can. His voice strengthened. Because I've lived without you, without them, and it's been hell. I won't choose that again. No matter what happens, no matter what I see or hear or fear, I won't leave without talking to you first. That's a big promise. It's the truth. They sat in silence, connected by phone lines and years of regret. The boys want you to come to their school play, Alicia finally said. Henry's a tree, Roy's a narrator. It's ridiculous and adorable. I'd love to come. Both of us will be there, sitting together. People will ask questions. Let them ask. I'm not ready to call us a family, Damien. I'm not ready for people to think we're back together. Then what should I tell them? Tell them the truth. That we're co-parents. That we're figuring it out. That it's complicated. That's a lot of truth for a school play. Despite herself, she smiled. Welcome to parenting. The play was exactly as promised, ridiculous and adorable. Henry stood perfectly still as a tree, while chaos erupted around him. Roy narrated with confidence beyond his years, his voice clear and steady. Damien and Alicia sat together in the auditorium, 3 seats apart. Not touching, not talking, but present together for their children. Afterward, the boys ran over, glowing with pride. Did you see me? Henry demanded. I didn't move once. You were perfect, Damien assured him. And Roy's narration was amazing, Alicia added, pulling her quieter son close. Other parents approached, making polite conversation. Eyes flickered between Damien and Alicia, clearly curious. Someone asked directly, Are you two co-parenting? Alicia supplied smoothly. It's a work in progress. The evening ended with ice cream, a spontaneous decision that surprised everyone, including Alicia. They sat at a picnic table outside a shop that had been there since she was a child. Henry got chocolate everywhere. Roy ate methodically, savoring every bite. Damien told a story about getting ice cream as a kid and dropping it immediately. The boys laughed. For a moment they looked like a family. Alicia felt the weight of that image. How easy it would be to slip into it. To let the past blur, to choose convenience over caution. But easy had never been her friend. I should get them home, she announced, gathering trash. School night. Damien helped clean up without complaint. At her car, he said, Thank you for tonight. You keep thanking me, because I'm grateful for every moment I get with them. With you, she looked at him fully then, really studied his face. The changes were everywhere, in the lines around his eyes, the softness of his mouth, the way he held himself less certain. You're different, she said. Is that good or bad? I don't know yet, but it's true. She drove home with the boys, chattering in the back seat, replaying the evening's events. In her rearview mirror, she could see Damien's car following at a respectful distance, making sure they got home safe. It was a small thing, but small things were starting to add up. That weekend, Damien took the boys to his place again. This time, Alicia stayed home, gave them space to build their relationship without her hovering. She spent those 3 hours in anxiety, called twice to check in, made Damien promise to text when they left his building, wore a path in her carpet pacing, but they came back happy, full of stories about teaching Damien card games and showing him their favorite shows. Normal things, safe things. Dad's not very good at cards, Henry reported, but he's learning. That's good. Can he come over here next time? Roy asked. I want to show him my room. The request was innocent, natural, and absolutely terrifying. Maybe, Alicia hedged. We'll see. But the seed was planted. The boys wanted their worlds to collide more fully, wanted their father in their space, not just them in his. A week later, she texted Damien, You can come for dinner, Saturday, nothing fancy. His response was immediate. Are you sure? No, but I'm trying. What should I bring? Just yourself. Saturday arrived too quickly. Alicia cleaned the duplex more than necessary, cooked too much food, changed her outfit 3 times before settling on casual, jeans and a sweater that meant nothing. The boys vibrated with excitement. Dad's coming here, to our house. When Damien knocked, they raced to answer, practically dragged him inside, showing him everything. Their shared room, their toys, their drawings on the fridge, their world. Alicia watched from the kitchen, seeing her modest home through his eyes. It wasn't much, but it was theirs. Built from nothing, maintained through sheer will. Your home is beautiful, Damien said, and he meant it. It feels loved. It is. Dinner was awkward at first, too formal, too careful. But the boys filled silence naturally, their chatter creating safety. Halfway through, Henry said, "This is nice. Having everyone together." Roy agreed. "We should do it more." Alicia and Damien exchanged glances. Both saw the hope in their son's eyes. Both felt the weight of that hope. After dinner, Damien helped with dishes. They stood side by side at the sink in a domestic scene that felt like memory and possibility tangled together. "Thank you for this," he said quietly, "for letting me into your space. It's not just my space. It's theirs too, and they wanted you here. What about what you want?" She paused, hands in soapy water. "I don't know what I want anymore. For 4 years, I wanted you to hurt the way you hurt me. Now you do, and it doesn't make me feel better." "What would make you feel better?" "I think maybe letting go would, but I don't know how. We could figure it out together. That's the problem, Damien. I don't know if I can trust us together. I only know how to be broken separately. Maybe broken together is better than broken apart." The statement hung between them. Outside, evening had deepened into night. Through the window, city lights pretended to be stars. When Damien left, the boys hugged him goodbye with increasing ease. He knelt down, eye level with them. "I love you both. So much." The words were new. First time he'd said them directly. Henry and Roy absorbed them, their faces showing they understood the weight. "We love you too," Roy said simply. After he left, Alicia found herself standing at the window, watching his car disappear. The house felt different with his absence. Not better, just different. "Mama?" Henry appeared beside her. "You okay?" "Yeah, baby, I'm okay. You were smiling at dinner. I don't see you smile that much anymore." She looked down at her son. "Was I?" "Yeah, it was nice," she'd smiled, without thinking about it, without permission from her anger. Just smiled because something had felt good. That realization kept her awake that night. Smiling meant healing. Healing meant letting go. And letting go meant risking everything all over again. The question was, could she risk it? Could she trust that this version of Damien, softer, humbler, present, was real and permanent? Or would he disappear again the moment things got difficult? She didn't have answers. Just questions and fear, and the smallest, most dangerous seed of hope. Chapter 9. The Equation That Doesn't Balance. Damien spent months trying to prove he'd changed, but proof and healing are not the same currency. 6 months of consistent presence. 6 months of soccer games and school plays and homework help. 6 months of building something fragile and unnamed with his sons. With Alicia, he'd stopped thinking about what came next. Stopped planning. Just focused on showing up, being present, earning back pieces of trust, one moment at a time. The boys thrived. Their confidence had grown. They talked about him at school, introduced him to friends, included him in their stories. He was no longer the mystery dad. He was just dad, but Alicia remained distant. Warmer than before, yes, but still holding back, still protecting herself. Julius noticed during one of their regular lunches. "You've done everything right for 6 months. Why does it still feel stuck?" Because I'm trying to fix a vase I didn't just break. I shattered it and then walked on the pieces while it bled." Damien pushed food around his plate. "Being present now doesn't change that I was absent when it mattered most. So what's your next move?" "There is no next move. I just keep showing up until either she believes I won't leave or I die trying to prove it." That's depressingly open-ended. That's reality. The truth was Damien had hit a wall. He'd proven consistency, proven patience, proven he could be a father, but proving he could be trusted again. That required Alicia to take a leap of faith he didn't know if she'd ever make. The boys sensed the stalemate. One evening, Roy asked Alicia, "Why don't you like Dad?" "And I do like him, but you don't love him." "Not like before." Alicia set down the dish she'd been washing. Who told you about before? Nobody had to tell us. We figured it out. Henry joined the conversation. You loved him, got married, then something bad happened. Now you're scared to love him again. Their perception was devastating in its simplicity. It's more complicated than that. Everything's complicated to grown-ups, Roy observed. But it's really not. Either you forgive someone or you don't. Either you trust them or you don't. Either you let them in or you don't. And which do you think I should do? Both boys answered simultaneously, Let him in. Why? Oh, because he's trying really hard, Henry explained. And because we're happy when everyone's together. And because you're sad when you're alone. I'm not alone. I have you two. That's different, Roy said wisely. You're alone in the grown-up way. We can tell. After they went to bed, Alicia sat with their words. Children saw things adults spent years denying. They saw her loneliness, saw her fear, saw exactly what she was doing, protecting herself at the cost of healing. She called Damien. The boys say I should let you in. What do you say? I say they're 6 and don't understand how complicated forgiveness is. But they understand happiness. And according to them, everyone's happier when we're together. Being happy and being safe aren't the same thing. I know, but Alicia, I'm not going to hurt you again. I know you don't believe that. I know I haven't earned that belief yet. But it's true. You can't promise that. No one can promise they won't hurt someone. You're right. I can't promise I won't mess up or make mistakes. But I can promise I won't leave. I can promise I'll talk to you instead of running. I can promise I'll fight for us instead of believing the first thing that challenges my trust. That's a lot of promises. They're all I have to give. She wanted to believe him, wanted to throw caution away and risk her heart again. But every instinct screamed that vulnerability was dangerous, that trusting him meant giving him power to destroy her again. I need time, she said. Take all the time you need. But time wasn't solving anything. It was just creating more distance. A breakthrough came from an unexpected place. Roy got sick, just a bad cold, but he was miserable. Alicia stayed home from work to care for him, called Damien to cancel their weekly visit. Is he okay? Damien's concern was immediate. Just a cold. He'll be fine. Can I bring anything? Soup? Medicine? We're okay. But 3 hours later, Damien showed up anyway. Brought groceries, soup, medicine, juice, crackers. Everything someone might need for a sick child. I know you said you were okay, but I couldn't just sit at home doing nothing. Alicia wanted to be annoyed at his disregard for her boundaries. Instead, she felt relief. Someone else caring. Someone else helping carry the weight. Thank you, she said, accepting the bags. Can I see him? Just for a minute? She let him in. Roy was on the couch, wrapped in blankets, watching cartoons with glazed eyes. When he saw Damien, his face brightened slightly. Dad came? It brought you supplies. Damien set down the bags, then sat carefully beside him. How you feeling? Not good, I bet. But you're tough. You'll beat this cold. Mama says I inherited her immune system. It's strong. It is. Your mama's the strongest person I know. The comment was casual, directed at Roy, but clearly meant for Alicia too. She stood in the doorway watching them together and felt something shift. Damien stayed, helped make soup, entertained Henry so Alicia could focus on Roy, did dishes, made sure everyone ate, acted like this was normal, like helping care for their sick child was just what he did. By evening, Roy had fallen asleep on the couch. Henry was in bed. Alicia and Damien stood in the kitchen, exhaustion settling. Thank you for today, Alicia said. You didn't have to come. Yes, I did. He's my son. Most non-custodial parents would have just sent a text. I'm not most parents. And I'm trying not to be non-custodial. I'm trying to be present, whatever that means. It means showing up even when it's inconvenient. It means helping even when you're not asked. It means... She stopped, emotion catching her throat. It means what? It means being the father they deserve, which is what you did today. The compliment clearly affected him. I'm just trying to be what I should have been from the start. You can't change the start, but you're doing okay with now. They stood in her small kitchen, the duplex quiet around them, and something unnamed passed between them. Not forgiveness, not quite trust, but acknowledgement of effort, of change, of possibility. I should go, Damien said, though he didn't move. Let you rest. Or you could stay. The words came out before she'd decided to say them. On the couch, in case Roy needs something in the night. Are you sure? No, but I'm offering anyway. He stayed, slept on her worn couch, under a blanket that smelled like her lavender detergent. Woke when Roy coughed, brought him water, checked his temperature. Acted like the father he'd missed being. In the morning, Alicia found them both asleep, Roy in Damien's arms, the blanket cocooning them together. The sight should have terrified her. Instead, it made her cry, not sad tears, complicated tears. The kind that came when walls started crumbling and you weren't sure what would be left standing. Damien opened his eyes, saw her watching. Sorry, I didn't mean to. Don't apologize for taking care of your son. Is this okay, me being here? I don't know, but it feels less wrong than it used to. That became their new normal. More dinners together, more time at her place. Damien helping with bedtime routines, homework, dishes, sliding into the rhythms of their lives like he'd always been there. The boys were thriving, laughing more, fighting less, secure in having two parents present. But the question remained unspoken between Damien and Alicia. What were they building? Co-parenting? Friendship? Something more? Neither was brave enough to ask, until one night after the boys were asleep, sitting on her porch in the dark. What are we doing? Alicia asked. What do you mean? This us. We're not together, but we're not separate. We're not friends, but we're not enemies. What are we? I don't know. What do you want us to be? That's not fair. You don't get to put this on me. I'm not. I'm asking what you want, because I know what I want, which is you, them, all of it. Damien turned to face her fully. I want what we had. I want to rebuild our family. I want another chance to be the man you fell in love with. What if that man doesn't exist anymore? What if we're both too different now? Then we figure out who we are now, together. I'm scared. So am I. You hurt me so badly, Damien. You destroyed something I thought was unbreakable. How do I trust you won't do it again? You don't. Not yet. Not until I've proven it over years, not months. But you could let me keep trying. You could stop holding me at arm's length and see what happens if you let me closer. She wanted to. God, she wanted to. But fear was louder than want. I can't, she whispered. Not yet. Then when? I don't know. Maybe never. Maybe this is as close as we get. The disappointment on his face was clear. But he nodded. Okay, then I'll take this. Whatever this is. I'll take it and be grateful. He left shortly after. Alicia sat alone on her porch, wondering if she'd just made the right choice or the most cowardly one. Inside, Henry appeared in the doorway, half asleep. Why'd Dad leave? It's late. He needed to go home. He looked sad when he left. I know, baby. Are you going to forgive him? Really forgive him? I'd said to him, try harder, Mama. He's good now. He loves us. Henry went back to bed, leaving Alicia with his simple wisdom. Try harder. As if it were that easy. As if years of hurt could be erased by effort. But maybe that's exactly what it took. Not grand gestures. Not perfect moments. Just consistent effort. Showing up, trying. She looked at the spot where Damien had been sitting and made a decision. Not to forgive him completely. Not to jump into his arms and pretend 4 years hadn't happened, but to try harder. To stop protecting herself quite so fiercely. To let the door crack open wider. The next day she texted him, come for dinner tomorrow and stay after the boys go to bed. We should talk. His response came immediately. I'll be there. They needed to have the conversation. The real one. About what they were building and where it could go. About whether forgiveness was possible or if they were just creating a new kind of torture for themselves. But before that conversation could happen, something shifted everything. Alicia was at work when her phone rang. The school. Her heart dropped immediately. Schools only called for emergencies. "Mrs. O'Connell, there's been an incident. Henry's fine, but there was an altercation. I'm on my way," she called Damien while driving. "Something happened at school. With Henry. What happened?" "I don't know yet. Meet me there." Already leaving. They arrived simultaneously, rushing into the principal's office together. Henry sat in a chair, his shirt torn, a bruise forming on his cheek. Next to him sat another boy, equally disheveled. "What happened?" Alicia demanded, dropping to her knees in front of Henry. "He said Dad wasn't our real dad. That real dads don't leave and come back. So I hit him." The principal launched into a speech about school policy and violence and consequences, but Alicia barely heard it. Her son had gotten into a fight defending his father, defending their family. Damien looked stricken. He knelt beside Alicia. "Henry, you can't hit people." But he was lying. "Even if he's lying, even if it hurts, you use words, not fists." "Like you did?" Henry's question was pointed. "You didn't use words with Mama, you just left." The truth of it silenced everyone. Even the principal looked uncomfortable. Finally, Damien said quietly, "You're right. I didn't use words when I should have. I made a terrible mistake. But that doesn't mean you should make the same one. You're better than I was." Henry's anger crumbled into tears. "I just wanted him to stop saying mean things about you." "I know, buddy. I know." Damien pulled him close. "But the truth is, what he said isn't completely wrong. I did leave, and I'm trying to make it right. But people are going to talk about that, and you can't fight everyone who does." They took Henry home, both of them together. Called the school, arranged for Roy to be picked up by a neighbor. Spent the afternoon dealing with ice packs and gentle lectures, and helping Henry process big feelings. Later, after Henry had calmed and was watching a movie, Alicia and Damien stood outside on her porch. "He defended me," Damien said, voice thick. "After everything I did, he defended me. That's what kids do. They love fiercely. I don't deserve it. Maybe not. But you have it anyway." She looked at him. "That's what I've been trying to accept. That they love you regardless of whether you deserve it. And that maybe I need to let them love you without my fear getting in the way." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I'm tired of being the obstacle. I'm tired of protecting them from disappointment that might never come. I'm tired of punishing you for a mistake you've spent months proving you won't repeat. You're not punishing me." "Yes, I am. By keeping you at a distance. By not letting myself trust what I can see right in front of me, that you've changed. That you're trying. That you love them desperately." "I love you too," Damien said quietly. "I never stopped." "Don't. Why not? It's true. Because if you say it, I have to decide what to do with it. And I'm not ready. Then I'll wait until you are." They stood in silence. Inside, Henry laughed at something in his movie. The sound was normal every day, proof that children were resilient in ways adults had forgotten how to be. "I want to try," Alicia said finally. "Not to be what we were. I don't think that's possible. But to be something new, something that acknowledges the past but doesn't live in it. What would that look like?" "I don't know yet. But maybe we figure it out together." It wasn't forgiveness. Not complete, not yet. But it was an unlocked door. An invitation to keep trying. A possibility where before there had only been walls. And for now, that was enough. Chapter 10. What remains when everything else falls? Forgiveness doesn't arrive like thunder. It comes in whispers, in small surrenders, in the exhaustion of carrying hate that weighs more than love ever did. 8 months after the first meeting, the twins' 7th birthday approached fast. They asked for one specific gift. "We want a party," Henry announced, "with both of you there together, like a family." Alicia and Damien exchanged glances across her kitchen table. They'd been doing that more lately, communicating in looks, reading each other's hesitation and hope. "We can do that," Alicia agreed. The day arrived sunny and clear. The party was at a park the boys loved. Friends from school came, neighbors, a few brave souls who knew the history and came anyway. Damien arrived early, helping set up tables. Alicia watched him work, comfortable in his own skin in a way he hadn't been months ago, less desperate to prove something, just present. The party unfolded with chaos and joy. Kids ran wild. Cake got everywhere. Henry and Roy moved through it all, radiating happiness, pulling their parents into activities, forcing them into each other's orbit repeatedly. During cake, Henry stood on a chair. "I want to say something." The crowd quieted. Roy climbed up beside his brother. "We want to thank everyone for coming." Henry started. Roy continued, "And we want to thank Mama for being the best mama ever. And Dad for coming back and staying." The words hit every adult present. Alicia felt tears threaten. "We know it's weird," Henry said, "that our parents aren't together, but they're both here, and that's what matters. Being together doesn't mean living in the same house," Roy added wisely. "It means showing up." And they both show up. They climbed down, oblivious to the weight of what they'd just said. Went back to being 7, to cake and presents and joy. After guests left, just the 4 of them remained. The boys played on the swings, while Damien and Alicia cleaned up. "They're remarkable," Damien said. "We're doing that," Alicia corrected quietly. "Not just me anymore." The acknowledgement shifted something between them. For months, she'd held tight to the narrative that she'd done everything alone. But these past months, he'd been present, contributing, parenting. "I don't know what we're doing," she admitted. "This thing between us, does it need a name?" Alicia watched their sons on the swings. "I want to tell them we're figuring it out. That love doesn't always look the same after it breaks. Sometimes it looks messier, but maybe that's okay." "Is it love?" Damien asked carefully. "What you feel now?" She took a long time answering. "I don't know. It's something. Not hate anymore. Something that hurts less than it used to." "Can Dad come home with us?" Roy asked, running over. She looked at Damien. He waited, no expectation in his face. Just openness. "Okay," she said. For a bit. At home, they settled into evening routines. Damien helped with baths while Alicia prepared dinner. Then bedtime. Stories read, prayers said, lights dimmed. When both boys were asleep, Alicia and Damien sat on her porch. "I've been thinking about what forgiveness means," Alicia started. "I used to think it meant forgetting, or pretending the hurt never happened. But maybe it's just deciding the hurt doesn't get to control everything anymore." "Have you decided that?" "I'm deciding it. Every day. Some days it's easier than others." She turned to face him fully. "I can't promise I'll ever be who I was. The woman you married, she's gone. You killed her when you walked away." The words were harsh but true. He didn't flinch. "I know. But this version of me, she's willing to try. Not to go back, but to move forward. What does forward look like? I don't know yet. But it includes you, in their lives, in mine. Not the way it was, but something new." They sat in the darkness. 2 people who'd been strangers, then lovers, then enemies, now something undefined. "Do you ever regret it?" Damien asked. "Loving me in the first place?" "Every day," she answered honestly. "And never. It gave me them. So how can I regret the path that led to Henry and Roy?" "You don't need to send letters anymore," she said after a moment. "Your presence is the apology." Tears gathered in his eyes. "Is it enough?" "It's becoming enough." She reached out, hesitated, then took his hand. The touch was electric and terrifying. "This is me trying. This is me choosing to believe you've changed. Then prove it by staying. Not just during the easy parts, but when things get hard. Don't promise. Just do it." Inside, Roy called out, "Bad dream." Damien went to comfort their son. Alicia listened to his low voice through the screen door. Soothing, gentle, present. When he returned, they stood together on the porch, not quite touching, but closer than before. "I should go," Damien said, though he didn't move. "Or you could stay." On the couch. "Are you sure?" "No, but I'm asking anyway." He stayed. In the morning, the boys found him there and climbed onto the couch with him, their laughter waking the house. Alicia watched from the doorway. This strange new family they were building, imperfect, complicated, scarred, but real. Maybe surviving destruction and choosing to rebuild anyway was its own kind of beautiful. She didn't know if she'd ever fully forgive him. Didn't know if they'd ever be more than co-parents, navigating complicated waters. But she was tired of hating, tired of walls, so she made a choice. Not to forget, not to excuse, but to try. She walked into the living room, sat beside them on the couch, let herself be part of the pile. Let herself feel the warmth of family, broken and rebuilt, messy and real. Pancakes, she decided. Everyone helps. They cooked together. Flour went everywhere. Damien burned the first batch. Alicia laughed, really laughed, for the first time in years. And in that laughter, something fundamental shifted. After breakfast, Damien prepared to leave. At the door, he turned back. "Same time next week?" "Actually," Alicia said, "what are you doing tomorrow? We could use help painting Henry's room." The invitation was casual, but the meaning was clear. He was welcome, more than weekly visits. Welcome into the daily moments that made a life. "I'm free," he said. After he left, Roy appeared beside her. "You're letting him in more." "I am." "Good. It's less sad now." She pulled her son close. "You're right. It does feel less sad." That evening she texted him, "Thank you for today, for every day lately, for not giving up on us." His response came quickly. "Never, I'll never give up on us again." She believed him. Not completely, not without reservation, but enough. Enough to keep trying, enough to let the door stay unlocked, enough to imagine a future where broken things could be mended, even if they'd never be the same. Outside her window, the city continued its endless movement. People lived and loved and hurt and healed. She was just one story among millions, but it was her story. And for the first time in 4 years, she felt like it might have a hopeful ending. Not perfect, not fairy tale, but real and surviving, and maybe learning to thrive. The boys would wake tomorrow with both parents present in their lives. Not in the same house, not in the same way as before, but present, committed, trying, and that was worth everything. The end, but really the beginning of something new.